Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our EPC overview and the administrative window changes for 2021. I'm Roxy Miller, and I cover the western half of North Carolina, and Rebecca Martin is with us as well, and she covers the eastern half of North Carolina for E-rate for DPI. Our program today will last about an hour, and that'll include some question and answer time at the end. I'm going to let Rebecca start with the first half of the program, and then I'll do the second half. I'm going to turn my webcam off. I think that'll help with a little with some of you as well with your bandwidth. All right, Rebecca, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I've got too many windows open, Roxy. Okay, I think we're going to start with, are we on updating parent and child profiles?
We're starting with the agenda first, the training topic.
I don't have the right one up, Roxy, and I'm not looking at the...
Okay, I'll go ahead while you get your screen ready. So our training topics that we'll be covering today are the EPC overview and one portal, the EPC administrative window, updating your parent and child organization profiles, and changes to the entity profiles for 2021. And numbers 3 and 4 are the big changes and will affect your Category 2 budgets for 2021 through 2025.
Okay, I can now see your screen. Yay! Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the Epic system and one portal login. Okay, web browsers. You probably know this if you tried to log in already, but there are only a few web browsers that are going to work with this. And first of all, you must allow cookies. So if you've got it set to, the browser is not configured to accept or allow cookies, then you'll get an alert. But here are the different web browsers that you can use. I use Chrome most of the time, even though I'm working from an Apple, and use Safari. I find that Google Chrome is much better to work with in the Epic system. So that's just my suggestion. Okay. And we're going to review in the Epic system what is the E-rate Productivity Center and how to get logged in, and the terms and conditions, and your landing page and your navigation bar and your profile. So in other words, everything that's in your profile here, and how to use it, how to get around and navigate in this software.
And a lot of you may be saying, well, why do I need this? I've been doing E-rate for years. You'd be surprised how many people call us and go, now, how do I find this? And they've been doing E-rate for years. So hopefully this will help some of you who have been doing it for a while, but you can't find your old forms, you don't know how to find your inquiries and that sort of thing. But it'll also help you new users as well.
And it is just a matter of getting in there and getting familiar with it, because if you don't do that on a regular basis, things do change. And I know I haven't updated a profile in a while. I have to refamiliarize myself.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll give you number 2.
So somebody needs to mute themselves, please. Sorry, Rebecca, I got it.
Did you get it? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The Epic portal is where we do everything, just about in E-rate. And this is where you put in all the information, all the different fields. You're going to file almost all of your program forms within Epic. You're going to keep your related entities updated with all the information on them. And you can add or delete users and change their rights and permissions to file the program forms.
Whoops. Did I go too far? Okay, next one, sorry.
One more.
I apologize. That to me screen.
The terms and conditions. In July, at the end of July, USAC changed the portal to a multi-factor authentication to make it a little bit more friendly or rather less easy for people to hack into it. Multi-factor users. So in order to accept or to get into that function, every user accepts those terms and conditions every time they log in. Okay? And this is what it looks like when you log in. Or this is, let's say, one of our logins, and I have two under the schools and libraries in the middle. If you look in there, you can see there are two choices. And one is to go directly to that E-Rate Productivity Center, and below it is where you log into the legacy system to file the 472 BEAR forms. And so you have a choice to do that if you're a BEAR applicant, if you have that, that system. So normally you're going to choose the first one, the EPIC program system. When you get your 6-digit code, put in your code, you'll get this screen, and you will choose the EPIC login. Okay, and this is what it looks like when you first log in. This is your landing page, and a lot of different things appear on here. If you have notification, it'll be there. In the second half of the page, you're going to see all your entities. If you are a parent, let's say a school district or a library system, you're going to have your own entity page, and you're going to have your child entities, the entities that are under this larger organization. Okay, and under the list of entities, this is where you can update those entities or just view them or look at them, whatever you want to do. There is another way also, but we're just going to show you this one right now where your entities are listed, and which has got the green box around it. Okay, it's also going to show you any customer service cases that are open and pending resolution there. Okay. Then the next box is going to show you the forms and post-commitment requests that are out there. And so if there are any there that are incomplete or certified, it'll show you both. If you click the radio button for all, you can see which ones are complete, which ones are certified, and which ones are incomplete. And you can filter them there with those drop downs. And another way, when you log in, click on that welcome button at the top underneath the logo, and that will also take you to the landing page where you can do a lot of the different functions and update. You'll have your update menus. The dark blue bar at the top, it's sort of a navigation bar. There are 5 different sections of that. And if you click on, that's where your tasks will show up, as this one shows. There are a few tasks in that task bar. But this is a way to navigate around on that landing page. When we click on News on the very left side of that dark blue bar, this news feed shows any forms or systems information, EPC information that has just been currently filed. You can also type in that search bar and put in your name, your school name, and get a list of all of the things that have been filed in the Productivity Center. And it starts with the most current date at the top and works backwards. Your next bar, that task that on this example shows 143 tasks. If you begin a form and you don't finish it, or you don't completely log out of an area, the system will create a task for you. And that task will take you back to exactly where you left off. So whether you're in the middle of creating a form or certifying a form or whatever type of thing that you're doing within Epic, if you didn't finish it, this is where your task is going to show up. Also, after you file your or after you certify, sometimes your task will come up. Also, a task will come up for a draft of a form you filled out. And so you will click on the task to go back to the form that is incomplete. The Records button. This one shows all the different types of records that you can search for and look for. Most of them, like in appeals, you would have to have a number to find a specific appeal. But if you just want to see a list of appeals and look at them, you can do that. I use this records probably the most frequently of any of those menus in that top blue bar, because I can quickly go in and find a specific 471 or a 470 or a customer service case. Any of the forms, it's really easy to get to them. Also, the applicant entities, if I need to, because I need to know everybody's entity numbers, and if I need to find one, I can use this menu to search for those. Okay, reports. This takes you to two things. It takes you back to the landing page, or it'll take you to a report of all of the RALs or modifications that have been submitted. Actions. This is a biggie. A lot of things are under actions. The very first one is creating a customer service case. And of course, you'll probably have to do that at some time or other, or you can telephone them as well. But sometimes it's just, if it's something simple, you can create a customer service case, type it in, and send it in. You don't have to call or wait in a queue. You can create a whistleblower case. And there are several other things that you can do from these menus. Okay, we're back to the landing page with the list of entities. And I believe at this point we're going to look at, are we back to, yes, we're back to managing the profile. So when you click on an entity, in this case it was the actual library system, you'll see what's highlighted in the green box are the menus there for, you can create a new user in your system, you can add or remove users or manage their permissions, and then there are three little dots after that for an extended menu.
And also know that you have to be the account administrator to be able to do this. So not just, you know, most entities have multiple users in the EPC system, but only the account administrator can actually add and remove users and change user permissions.
Okay, and here are the three little dots at the end, and that lists everything in a drop-down bar that can be done from this menu. So quite a few things that you can do if you are authorized to do it within the system.
Okay, I'm going to just hit one thing that Rebecca talked about, and I'm going to zoom. You can close your eyes if you get seasick as I zoom back up through here. But this part here, where it says FCC forms and post-commitment request, lots of times, especially after forms have been filed and we're talking with our applicants and we say, okay, now pull up your 470 or pull up your 471, check it for this, that, and the other. They'll go, well, where do I find that? Well, this is where you find it. It's at the very bottom of your landing page. It says FCC forms, post-commitment request. Here's where you pull up all your forms. So you simply put in the type that you're looking for. There's a drop down there for 470, 471, 486, Form 500, all that's post-commitment. And then you pop in the funding year, and you want to choose the certified versions, because those are the ones that you certified and sent through the system. And then you can pull up the latest copies for review. Now, most of us, if not all of us, have these in a digital E-rate folder somewhere else, or you have them in paper copy in your notebooks, but they're also kept here so that you can pull them up and refer back to them. Okay, so when I say, or Rebecca says, and we're working with you on your things, and we say, okay, pull up your Form 471, this is the quick way to go back and grab it. So that's the reason we went through these screens for you, is to help you realize that all of the stuff you filed within EPC is at your fingertips on your landing page. And also your inquiries through PIA, we're going to talk about those when we talk about the 471 and show you the shortcuts to get to those. All right, so I'm going to jump down to the next part, which is brand new. I think I jumped over a few of them. Okay, if somebody would mute themselves, please, for the background noise. I want to talk about updating parent and child entity profiles. So if you were unfamiliar with these two terms, the parent entity would be the school district or the library system. If you're a charter, you are the parent-child, period, because in North Carolina, charter schools aren't recognized as school districts. So no matter how many charter buildings you have, you're still one charter school, okay? With a school system or a library system, for every extra building you have, those are going to be your child entities, okay? So if you have 36 schools in your school system, then you have 36 child entities. If you have 6 libraries in your library system, you have 6 child entities. So you're going to be updating parent entities and child entities for not only your discount rates this year, which is what you've been used to doing all along, but you're going to update them twice, the second time for your budgets. Okay, moving on. All right, so all entities must have and be updated with some important information. One is the FCC registration number. Now, if you're a school district or a library system, I know especially for school districts and library systems, the FCC registration number only needs to be at the parent level. Charters, it'll be at your main level, but child entities don't have to have the FCC registration number. And you'll get warning, I call them the red box of death, when you go to file your 471. If you don't have that FCC registration number in there, it won't let you file. So that's why we tell you when you go to get your bin, make sure you have that FCC registration number. Contact information must be updated. If you have a lot of turnover, and some charter schools have lots of turnover for in terms of people who do E-rate. So if you have a lot of turnover, this contact information must be updated. So I encourage you to pick somebody that's going to do E-rate, that's going to be with you for a while. New entities. if you are planning on opening new libraries or new schools, or in the case of a charter, if you're building a new building, let's say a middle school or a high school campus to go with your elementary campus, those would be annexes for you. These entities need to be created now before we even get to filing the 471 in January, because we need to get numbers for them, okay? And only USAC can do that. So you need to contact Rebecca or myself, and we can talk you through that process. Okay, student counts are the first thing that needs to be updated when we're talking about numbers. So you have the demographic information, which is your address, your phone number, and that sort of thing, contact information. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty and you're talking about where the rubber meets the road and your discount comes into play and your budget is being affected, we have two sets of numbers. One is your student count, and the other is your free and reduced lunch data. So those are two sets of numbers that you're going to update for 2021. Okay, now in 2021, there's going to be two student counts. One's for your discount and one's for the budget. And this is where the difference comes into play, and we'll show you how that's going to look. The problem for 2021 is numbers are a mess due to COVID. And in North Carolina, they're not even collecting free and reduced lunch data because everybody's getting it. So we've been in discussion all over the United States with our fellow E-rate coordinators in terms of what are we going to do. And the consensus is, and the FCC allows this, is to use data for 2 years. Because a lot of schools have been affected with student counts dropping, kids being enrolled virtually, for example, or homeschooled, those kids don't count towards your Category 2 budget because the kids have to be in a brick and mortar school. And your discounts are greatly affected because there are no counts for 2021 because you'd be using this year's data. And we're going to use last year's data, okay, because you can use it for 2 years. And then hopefully all this stuff will go away and we can have better counts next year, okay? So we are going to use the same state valid file data for updating our profiles that we used last year. And you already have those numbers. It's just going to be plugging them in a second time. And I'll keep explaining as we go along. Just know that you're going to use last year's numbers twice. You're going to repeat them. So in other words, you don't really have to change them. You're just going to have to put them in a second time. Then for those of you who didn't bother to change them, you're going to need to put them in, because we have people, and I don't know if you're listening, that don't bother to update their profiles because they don't think they have to if they're not going to file. And that's not true. Profiles have to be updated every year, regardless of whether or not you're going to file, because it impacts our state data as well. Okay? Now, if you are a new school or you are a new library, you must create that entity profile and you must put your student count and whatever NSLP data we can get in there based on the numbers we have. And Rebecca and I will work with you on those numbers because we're going to have to put them on the 2020 valid file based on what you have. Libraries, what do you put in there? Well, you put in square footage, okay? Bookmobiles, kiosks, they all need a square footage to count toward your Category 2 budget. And the question has come up, well, how do I get the square footage for a bookmobile? You literally go out there and measure that sucker. You measure how long it is, you measure how wide it is, you multiply the two together, and that's your square footage. And that does count toward your budget. If you put a 0 in there and it has no square footage, you don't get that towards your budget, okay? All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, so this starts with how to update your parent entity profile. So the parent, like I said, will be your school district or your library system. And if you're a charter, it'll just be your charter school. And you'll see at the top of this landing page, on my landing page, it'll say welcome, and it'll have the school district name or the library system name or the charter name. And then at the bottom, the very first entity will also be the school district. Okay? So by clicking on one of those two boxes that you see in red, you'll immediately go into your organization's profile data. Okay? This is just a blow up here. Same thing, I blow up here. All right? Once you get in there, then you click on Manage Organization. Once you click on Manage Organization, you will see these boxes become live. And by that, I mean you see a little box around all this data. And once those boxes are live or editable, you can go in and make all the changes you need to make. As Rebecca talked about earlier, you can update addresses, you can update phone numbers, you can update the contacts, you can update whatever you need to. And there, on down below here, there is places for the numbers, okay? You're going to do the same thing for the entities. You just click on an entity, you manage the organization, and you start changing the data, okay? You have to update each child entity the same way you updated your organization or your parent. And I'm sorry to Wake County, and I'm sorry to Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and all of our big districts where you literally have hundreds of schools. But yeah, I don't make the rules. All right, so that's how you update child entities and parents. Child and parent, child and parent. All right, so let's talk about the changes again. The attribute sections are called Applicants, and I'm going to show you a demo in just a minute. Then there's a new section called Budget Information. Student counts are going to be entered twice, once for your discount and once for the budgets. All right, so here's what the entity profiles look like. This is for the school districts. You've got subtype up there. You got a state school code. And this is what the budget section looks like. So for the entity, you'll have at the very bottom, once you go into that profile, you'll see a Category 2 budget section at the bottom. And it says, how does the district want to report its student count? Is it one number for the whole district or a number for each school in the district? So this is a big difference. This is something you haven't seen before. Okay, somebody mute yourself, please. If you have 10 or fewer schools in your school district or library, if you have 10 or fewer libraries, you need to check a number for each school in the district. If you have 11 or more, you may do one number for my whole district. Now let me tell you why. And this really gets into figuring Category 2 budgets, and that's another workshop. But what happens is there's basically 3 ways to figure Category 2 budgets. Number 1 is you get $167 a child. Number 2, if you have fewer than 150 children, meaning 149 or less, you can have a floor of $25,000. If you are a small school district with 10 or fewer schools, you have a third option. That third option will maximize your budget. meaning it will look at each school individually and count the children and say, okay, I can either use the $25,000 method, the floor method, or I can multiply 167 times the number of kids. That hybrid method is only available to small school districts with 10 or less schools. That is why you want to choose radio button number 2, a number for each school in the district. Because if you do the top one, the automatic budget calculator will not give you the hybrid method, okay? If you were a large school district, 11 or more schools, it figures your budget for you based on either the 25,000 floor or the 167. You do not have the hybrid method available to you. I don't make the rules. The FCC made the rules, okay? So just remember this. And don't worry, yes, Rebecca and Roxy will help you figure out which button you need to push and help you put your numbers in, okay? So then at the bottom, you're going to see all the schools that are eligible for your, or libraries for your C2 budget. They'll have check marks. You will not see your non-instructional facilities, bus garages, technology office, those sort of things, because they are not eligible for budgets. Now, if you choose the radio button that says one number for my whole district, it'll calculate and give you that sum just like it shows right here. Okay? All right. So that's what it's going to look like. Next screen. Entity profiles. This just explains the difference that I just went through for you. For 10 or fewer schools, enter your student counts individually. If you have 11 or more, do the one number for the whole district. Charters, you're just going to be the one. Libraries, you have to choose which method to go with as well. Okay? Same thing here is what I just talked about. Who is eligible for a Category 2 budget? The columns will indicate on the far right, if it has a green check mark, it is eligible. And it also is determined about the type of school it is. And there are new school subtypes that are part of this year's profiles as well. You have to have a positive student count or be a subtype that can have a 0 count. All right, here's an example of where you put the numbers in. Once you click on Manage That Organization, so if I'm in my school or my big entity, my parent entity, and I click on Manage Organization, down here, there's my number of kids, there's my NSLP, and you should not be changing these because this is what we had last year. If you are a new school, we'll be putting these numbers in together, me, you, and Rebecca, okay? Libraries, you'll be entering your square footage for your ones that don't have a square footage, okay? All right. But that's what it looks like if you've never seen one before. All right. And then you'll have a category budget summary right here for each child, and it'll give you the total number of students. And if you'll notice, it's the same here, number of full-time students here. This is for your discount, and then this is for your Category 2 budget, and they should match year 1. I'm not even going to begin to talk to you about year 2 because it can be different. Okay, libraries. This is what yours looks like. You'll be a public library system. This is the system. This is the sum of all the square footages in all of the libraries that are part of your system. And then you're indicating you're the main library branch. And then here's an example of a child entity of one of the libraries. And down here's the square footage of that one library. So you would work the same way. You would manage each entity and enter the square footage. Okay, so this is what they deleted and added for this year. Full-time students. That's been added. They took out peak part-time students and part-time student count, and pretty much everybody's a full-time student. You can report a single number for your school district student count. That's the aggregated number for a school system's budget. So it's called the aggregated school count. There is some information about CEP base year that you'll be asked if you're a CEP school district and you have community eligibility provision for your schools. You will be asked about the base year. You cannot estimate student count for new school construction in large school districts. Library square footages must be greater than 0 to be included in the C2 budget calculations. That is new this year. Deleted fields, you no longer have to enter the IMLS local code libraries, and then we talked about the peak and part-time students. They're no longer involved in the budget and student counts. Okay, now these things I mentioned earlier, there are new school entity types, and for some of us this might be important, especially when you're building schools and moving kids around. In most cases, schools have to have a positive student count, can't be 0, in order for this to count towards your budget. Some schools, according to the FCC now, can have a 0 count and be counted towards your budget. For example, general use school. These are like vocational schools, magnet schools. These are where kids are moving in and out all the time and you don't have a consistent student population. Most of the time we don't see these here in North Carolina. Our populations are usually set, but they can have a 0 student count. Detention centers are treated just like juvenile justice schools. They can have a 0 student count as well, okay? We don't really have these either. Swing spaces, now, this we might have. These are temporary sites. For example, you have to refurb a building. You're going to move your kids out to another site for a year and then move them right back into this building that you're refurbing. So the site you move them out to is a swing site, okay, or a swing space. So these can have a 0 student count and count towards your budget, okay? So those might come into play in some of your areas, all right? So this is a new school type. All right, tips for the admin window. Contract records. If you're getting a new contract for your wide area network or internet services, we're going to create these after the admin window closes, but before we file our 471, we can. We don't have to do it during the admin window, so don't panic on that. Finish out 2020 before we start 2021. So if you have any RAL changes to make or any appeals, let's get those done. There is a C2 budget tool for 2021. We're going to do a budget workshop and show you how to work the budget tool, okay? And what we've already talked about again, schools with 10 or fewer schools. We recommend you do individual count, do that one radio button, so it will give you the best option for budget calculations. Now, I will tell you when we do our budget workshop, budgets are going to be set in 2021, but they won't be locked until you're funded for the first time. So if you don't apply in 2021, you wait and apply in 2022, your budget is not locked. I will also tell you that your discount numbers will be updated every year. Your budget numbers will not. So we will be going back in there and updating profiles every year to update your discounts. So while your budget numbers don't change for 5 years, your discount numbers will. If you find that your enrollment increases within this 5-year period after your budget is locked into place, you can request that your budget be raised. That mechanism to do that is not ready yet, okay? Because there's no need to, because budgets haven't even started. Just know that the possibility does exist if your enrollments increase to have your budget increase to go along with it. So there's lots of changes floating around beginning with the 2021 funding year, and I know it's super confusing. So let me look right now at the questions that are in the chat, and then if you have some more, go ahead and put them in there. All right. How can we find out who our administrator is currently? If you have a login to EPC, it will tell you in the portal who your administrator is. If not, you can send me or Rebecca an email and we can tell you. What school type would we use for a virtual academy? Virtual academies do not, they would just be a regular school, but also know that they do not get funded for a Category 2 budget. And unless they are sitting in a brick and mortar building and you have teachers in that academy, if that's what you're getting at and you need to run a WAN line there, you just put them in as a regular school. But actually, it would be a NIF more than likely because you don't have kids in the building. They have to have kids in the building. Now, more questions.
There's got to be more questions.
Yes. All right, so let me show you something. Question, do we need to know the school's LEA for new construction to set the new entity? Yes. You do need to get that LEA number ASAP, and you need to find the address, the phone number. Can you remind us of the C2 budget formula? Yes, it is $167 per child. Question, if we did not update last year's student count, should we use data from last year now? Yes, you should use data from last year. And let me show you where this data is located. That is an excellent question. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to pull up our wrong resource, Roxy. Okay, is this screen showing the E-rate site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so folks, this is our E-rate website. And if you'll go to the second link in, it's the Category 2 2021. I've been working on this today, and this is a work in progress because it's 2021. But there is a link under Documents and Information called 2020 SVF. All right? When you open that, it is a spreadsheet. And I'm going to open the spreadsheet, perhaps. Here we go. I'm going to drag it over to my presentation window. I hope it's showing.
It is.
Okay. All right. So what you have, every school district's in here. And if you come over columns J, let's see, you need to look at K and N. K and N. K is your enrollment number. N is the NSLP number. So if you did not do your numbers last year, they're in K and N. okay? And it's on the spreadsheet right here. And if you need help, Rebecca and I will help you. Because once you do one or two of them, if you're in a big district, then, you know, you got it. If you're a brand new charter, you and I and Rebecca need to talk about what numbers we need to put in for you, because it's going to be who you're enrolling right now. And then if you forgot to do your numbers, then we need to get them off this list, okay? All right, let's go back to the chat and see what else we have here.
Roxy, what I've heard them in the USAC training say that for the larger school districts, there are templates. Do you know if that is true, that if you have a lot of schools, you can update those counts with a template that'll dump them in?
Yes, there is a template available on the website, the USAC website. It's called a bulk upload template. If you did not upload your numbers last year. However, and what it'll do, it'll simply upload those two numbers, the student count and the the other information. There are categories for that information. However, we were told in our training from USAC that it does not upload everything that they need, and you will still have to go in and visit every school by hand. So you might as well not even use it. Yeah, you might as well not even use it. All right, we had another question that says, we had a school to close. How do I remove that entity? So you can go in and ask USAC, open a case through Contact Us in your portal, and have that entity disassociated from your parent bin. Okay, so you'll need to send USAC the entity number of the school that is closed. Tell them that it has closed and you would like it disassociated from your parent bin. Very good question. Okay, so I think the best next step would be to have a show and tell of how I upload all these numbers, or how I enter all these numbers. And the best way to do that is going to be with somebody and their login, because neither Rebecca nor I have logins to school portals. So what I'm going to do is contact some of my people and ask for a volunteer, and we'll do have a library one, a charter one, and an LEA, and we'll have show and tells. Then you can join in. You can be updating your own as well, but I think the best way to do that is have you watch it live happening. And that's the best way to see it going on, because I can't do it in the training portal, and Rebecca nor I have access to this live stuff happening. And yes, the next question was just to confirm, you use last year's student counts. Yes, you're not using this year's. You're using the ones that are on this spreadsheet on our website, the 2020 SVF. Okay, so please look for that show and tell on updating numbers in the profile within a registration for that event within the next few days, as soon as we get the volunteers to do that. Because I think that will help everybody if you can watch it be done, and then you can log in with your numbers as well. What you can do is go pull your numbers off the website if you did not upload them last year, and put them in like you were supposed to last year, and hold on to your numbers. And then when we have the live show and tell, then you can do your budget work and get those numbers entered twice. Okay? All right, so I have 7 more minutes. Are there any questions? Are we clear about the fact that you have to have the data in twice? Once for the discount calculation and once for the budget. And then starting in funding year 22, you will continue to update your discount population numbers, but you don't have to change the budget numbers, which is crazy, but I don't make the rules. Okay, now I will remind you that the administrator, account administrator, is the only one who can update numbers. So if that is not you, and they're not on this call, you guys need to have a conversation, okay? Because that has to be done. Very, very important, okay? All righty. I will post this so that you can listen to it again, and I will put the slides up on the website as well. All that should be up probably before 5 o'clock today. And please email either Rebecca or myself if you have any further questions, and we will have a show and tell coming up very quickly. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.